It is raining and I am out in my car, and I thought I would do a live while I'm driving around. One of the things that relaxes me is driving. And so it's Saturday afternoon and I am um, having a relaxing drive in the rain as it is. And I thought I would talk about relationships and love, okay? And why we talk about them so much and why we need to continue to talk about them. Because I think it's really important for us to recall that probably for the last 50 years, and going back even further, if you want to go back to my era, it is more important, I think, or more pervasive now, that women are getting tricked and lied to about so many things. And we really are so very tired of having men play in our face. We're sit and listening to the men, and they are promising to do this and to do that, never follow through. And we end up in situations where we really just don't want to be in. And now, I think part of what is happening right now is we are kind of looking at what went wrong. Why is it that we, and I'm talking about as a community, black folks who were 50, 100 years ago, 99.9% married. I mean, family was foundational. It was, oh, you got married and had a bunch of kids. That's what you did. There is none of this craziness that we see now. Even in my era, the street I grew up on, almost everybody was married. I mean, I'm sure there were single people out there, but there were very few people who were shacking up together, living together. And why that changed is kind of what's happening is a lot of folks are trying to break down what happened and why. And so I think that's why we're having so much discussion about it at this point. I also think that one of our greatest needs is to be in relationship, all right? You might not want to be married, but you want to be in relationship. You want to have a spouse or a partner. And for so many decades, it has been a case of black women getting the short end of the stick. And I think what has brought everything to light is that black men have said, oh, no, it's you. It's you. You messed it up. You screwed it up. You picked the wrong people. It's all your fault. And we're like, how is it that it can all be our fault when it takes two people to be in a relationship and it takes two people to have kids? And so we are really taking a hard look at how we go into relationship, the kinds of men we go into relationship with. And I saw a post recently where one woman was like, why are we constantly talking about this? Why? It is pervasive, but it is for a really, really good reason, okay? The foundation of a community rests on the most solid teams possible, okay? So if you have weak teams, then you will have a weak community. And that's what we have. We have extremely weak community. So much so that you can barely even call it a community, okay? If you have a lot, and I'll go back to my childhood, okay? And it was something that happened recently in Detroit. And I saw it and I thought, okay, this would never have happened before. When I grew up in Detroit, they would have things called block parties. Now, I'm sure other places have it. And what we did, instead of having the kids go out for Thanksgiving in our community, on our street, we would block off the ends of the street and we would have a party in the middle of the street. So all the kids on my block, none of us went trick-or-treating. I didn't go trick-or-treating until I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, I don't know. I don't even remember. But they always had this party because they didn't want kids going out trick-or-treating, okay? So the parents on the street and everybody on the street arranged it so that we could have this party. And there was never a problem. Now, what would happen, although it wasn't apparent, I remember talking to somebody about this and they were like, no, that's not what happened. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. So in the middle of the street, you have moms bringing treats out and food. There's games, we're playing music. And so all the kids are in the middle of the street, all right? The moms are there, and the women who are not moms, okay, because there were several of my neighbors that didn't have children, all right, but they lived on our block, so they came, and they were directing and they were leading the games, and then the men were in the back, and you might say they didn't participate, but they did. What they did was when some kid wandered in and said, "Hey, can I play?" They said, "No, this is for people who live on the street," because in order to do all of this, we got together as a street, and they paid because they had a block committee. I forget what you call it, but they paid to have the street blocked off. They paid for all the food. They paid for all the games. They paid for all the candy. So the people on that block paid for that party. And so that meant that people couldn't wander in. And the men typically stood on the outside edges to protect that party. All right. And because I remember they were there, but they weren't participating because they were all in the background. You could see them. They were standing on lawns. They were standing on sidewalks. There'd be 2 or 3 of them, talking. But their job was to guard the party. Now, when you have that, then you have a successful party. And then what's happened recently in the city of Detroit is that they try and do this. They try and hold block parties, and there ends up being shootings. And it's like, how is that possible? How can you have a shooting at a block party? Because the people on the party, on the block, are the ones that are invited. You should know all your neighbors, right? And then the men are in the background protecting, right? And the thing is, yeah, those 2 characteristics are missing. The men are not on the outside protecting. They're usually not even there because there's so few men who are a part of that community, who are willing to show up and be a part of something like this, that the people who want to come in and disrupt, they just come right on in. You can't stop them. Before, there were men standing there going, "No, you can't come in here." Okay, so that part is missing from our community. When you have a strong family network, a strong family group, all right, that allows you to raise balanced, healthy children. Now, I'm not saying every time, but I'm saying most of the time. You get a better mix, okay, if you have both parents present, okay? You don't have a mother that's doing 100% or a father that's doing 100%. You got some kind of split where, hey, I'm home with the kids, you go get some money, or maybe we both go get money, but we work on the housework or whatever it is. But having 2 adults present is important. And our community lost that over the last 50 years. So that is why we are constantly having the conversation of relationships and what went wrong and how can we make it better and how can we not do this anymore. All right. I think for women, when we look at relationships, and let's say you're coming up, you're in your 19, 20, and you want to get married and you want to have kids, and you're trying to meet men who want that. And there are not a lot of men in our community that want that. In fact, I would guess probably only about 30% of our men really want that. The rest of them want to be players and pimps. And I would say the majority. I used to think it was less, but the more I look at life and I look around and I see, like in my personal community and the community that is on inner city Detroit, oh my goodness, way more men want to be players and pimps than want to be husbands or fathers, okay? So they have no problem moving around playing the game. Meanwhile, you have a community of women who are searching for something that they're never going to find in their community. It's not happening, okay? Because those men don't exist in our community, all right? The vast majority of the men in our community do not want to get married, do not want to be fathers. What they are looking for is someone to have sex with. That's all they're interested in. They could care less about your feelings. They really don't want to even be in a relationship. They want to hit it and quit it. That's their whole thing. That is who they are, and that's what they want. And so what you have is you have people who want 2 different things. And for years, the women have said, "That's what I want." And the men go, "Yeah, I want that too." And so you end up with a bunch of women who are like bitter and angry because we've been lied to, because you said, and you didn't follow through. And then right now, men are saying, "Oh, well, that's your fault. You should have picked better." But the fact is that we picked men who said they wanted the same thing. they didn't show their behinds until years later when, oh, I don't want to be married. Oh, I don't really want to be a dad. I don't really want to be in a relationship. That's why I'm sleeping with 4 women. So you have this situation where it's like, okay, we refuse to continue this way. Being in a relationship, being in love, being in something that is solid, that will carry you through and support you, is huge. And I think that's part of Maslow's hierarchy of, I forget what you call it, but it's that list of things where what is important. And I think that one's like third, love and relationship, right? And so when we're looking for that, it is a good reason. Okay, we want that because everybody wants that. Now, not every person in the world, I understand that, because obviously I just listed a bunch of men that don't want it at all. Oh, let's see. Let's see who's out here. Hello, Shalom. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Simply Stephanie. No, a lot of them are bitter and angry. No, I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all. And that's why there has to be a lot of healing, okay? I'm not saying all, but I'm saying that there's a lot of women who have believed the lie. They came in looking to be in a relationship with a man, a marriage, where they raise kids and they're together, and then they find themselves as single mothers because they were lied to. And when you're lied to like this about a lifestyle, yeah, there's bitterness and anger, all right? And that's understandable, but that's why it's important that we get healing for that, because, all right, this one man did you wrong. We can't take it out on everybody. We got to get past our anger. We got to get past all the stuff that, that we have gone through so that we can heal and move forward. So I think it's important that we take the time to heal. Once we find out, oh man, I've been messed over. He didn't want what I wanted. I'm out here by myself. Get some healing, because the next phase will be you still want to find that relationship. You still want to find that love. And you have to be healed to go looking for that. If you're not healed, then what happens is you pick the same man, because you're still, you don't know what went wrong. That's like, I keep buying lemons because I don't know how to pick cars. It's like, okay, we got to figure this out. Oh, you know what? I am going to do more affirmations. I lost my affirmations when my phone had to be rebooted, but they are backed up on my computer, and I finally found them. So I will be doing more affirmations. Actually, I've got quite a few to work on. So here we are. We're out of the situation that we were in before. We're healed. We're better. We may be mothers. We may have no children. But now we need to find better men. And I have learned I cannot find better men in the community that I grew up in. Those men don't exist. Not in my community. They do not. Not in the community I grew up in. So when I'm looking for men, I had to go outside of my community, because the men in my community still think they're players. Oh, I got it going on. And it's like, look, dude, I'm not looking for that. And they don't have a problem still lying to you. Oh, I want to be together with just one woman. I want to be in a relationship. And they're just lying. And so what is happening now is we're kind of processing, okay, how do we find the liars? How do we find the players? How do we find, the red pill guys who are just, speaking crap to us? Because for women, relationships are huge. And we want relationships that will stand the test of time. We want and we need those relationships because they're foundational to our lives. And a lot of times when we're talking amongst each other and we're doing videos back and forth about what we've observed and what we've seen, it's because we're learning. We're trying to figure out what is it that we did wrong and what is it that we can do so that we don't have this problem going forward. So that is one of the reasons why we keep doing videos about relationship, because relationship is important. Now, there are people who said, I'm never going to get in a relationship. I'm just going to stay single. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not down in that at all. But a lot of women aren't built for that, okay? In fact, as you enter into your deeply feminine periods of your life, it is nice to have a man in your life, because he will take care of all those things that you just don't want to do. Now, if you're in a position where you can pay somebody to do it, all the better, okay? That way you don't have to worry about it. But if you are looking still for that companion for your life, the rest of your life, then you still have to continue to explore who you need to exclude, and how you go about that. So taking the time to really just examine why we do this, why we continue to talk about relationships and continue to talk about men, because that is something that's just something I think that's internal to women. Relationship is huge for women. Relationship is huge, okay? And if you want a male companion, if you want a man in your life, if you want a husband and you want to get married again, then a lot of times you have to just buckle down, figure out what went wrong, and then just work on that and work towards finding a mate. So we will continue to do that until we start seeing that uptick. And I think that's already starting to happen, where you're seeing women who look like us getting married more often, okay? Because for many, many, many years, and you can look at it in the city of Detroit. There used to be places where you could buy wedding dresses in the city of Detroit. Detroit doesn't have any place to buy a wedding dress. You have to go outside the city, and there's not even that many outside the city anymore. But because women aren't getting married, not in the city of Detroit. No, you will not find any, wedding places. Even to have a wedding, to do all the things to prepare for a wedding. You have to go into another community, because weddings is not a big business in the inner city of Detroit. It just isn't. Not even receptions, all right? Unless you're going to go to some of the, really big, expensive venues. That's not how it works here, because there's not a lot of people getting married in the city of Detroit. There just isn't. And when I look at the younger generations of my family, I see that, because based on the number of younger people in my family, there should be a wedding like every year, probably for the next, because there's like 50 of them. None of them are married. None of them. I mean, I have four older, I had four older siblings, and I had four younger ones. Some of them have passed away. But that combination puts about, and some of them are already grandparents. Some of my nieces and nephews are already grandparents. So that's like 50, 60, or probably more. If I sat down and wrote it, probably more. But nobody's getting married. It has been a while since anyone has gotten married. Marriage is not something that they're looking to do for this generation in my family, which is really sad. They're also having a lot less children. I and one of my brothers was talking. He's got three kids, no grandchildren. And his kids are older. Well, not all of them. Some of them are older than mine. I've got one. I don't anticipate I will have grandchildren. So when you are building a community, and let's talk about the Black community in particular, not having solid families hurts us. It hurts us a lot, because it's tough to support a college education on one income unless you make a lot of money. It's so sending your kids to college becomes harder because you only have one income. Or if your child wants to start a business and you want to invest in it, but you don't have enough money because you're a one-income household. Or your child is married and wants to buy a house, and you want to help with the down payment, but you don't have the funds for it. Whereas couples can do that. Couples can, hey, we're going to help you buy your first house. We're going to give you $10,000 to put on that payment. Or when they're in college, the child is not only paying for college, mom and dad are paying too, so that if they can eliminate student debt, they will, or no student debt, student loan debt at all. That's ideal. So we continue to kind of spin on with our constant conversation about relationships. What does a good one look like? What does a bad one look like? And that's one of the reasons why that's why I talk about red pill manosphere so much, because the game playing is unbelievable. Some of these men will straight up lie to your face. Oh yeah, I want a family. Oh yeah, and they just lie. They just lie. Meanwhile, you've got this woman who is serious about life, and a lot of people are serious about life. They want to have a career or a good job. They want to have a companion. They want to get married, and meanwhile, you got people who are playing games. Oh, well, yeah, I want a girlfriend. But, you look up and so many women I see who are doing videos who are just so heartbroken. he told me, and I was married, and he got another family, and he gave me a disease because he'd been sleeping. I mean, it's horrendous. It is horrendous. And for a population that is so small, I mean, we are 15% of the population. I think that's right. Around 15%. And when you have this much heartbreak in such a small community, something is completely out of whack. The fact that men are running podcasts on how to run game on women. Oh, the first time I saw Red Pill Manosphere by men that look like us, I couldn't believe it. I mean, and I had been watching Red Pill by these folks for years. It's a totally different world. It is a totally different world because our men, baby, they want to break you down to the point where you need mental help just so they can have sex with you. I'm going to say that again. They want to break you down to the point where you need mental help just to have sex with them. Whereas these men are like, I just want the reality, but they still need and want women, and they still date women. That's why they don't talk crap about women as much as our men do. Our men do it. It is sickening. I remember watching the first set. I was listening to it. I wasn't watching. I was listening to it while I'm working, and I had to pause it a couple times. I was like, I could not have heard that. How to get a woman, how to break down a woman mentally. There are videos titled just that way: how to break a woman down mentally, how to get a woman to be in your life forever by getting her pregnant, how to get a woman to give you money, even if she doesn't have any. Oh, it's all out there. It's all out there. And sitting and listening to it, it's like, well, no wonder women are crying, because they have met the men who are doing this. I remember I watched a video of a young lady, and she was an attorney. She says, well, I'm at work, and she's filming herself. She's wearing a suit, and she's like, I have met this man, and I think he's trying to get me into a mental hospital. And she goes, I've done everything he said, and but it's none of it's working, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I thought, oh my God, really? This is horrible. But this was what was happening because some red pill manosphere pimp guy had got hold of her, and baby, he was wringing her for every inch of life he could get out of her. She was like, I'm sitting at work, I can't concentrate, I don't know what's happening. And it was like, you know what, I'm gonna do the best I can. If I find some information, that's like my goal right now. If I can find information and pass it on to women so they understand that, baby, he is playing you, and get out of this. I don't even recommend that women confront men, all right? Because confrontation won't always work in your favor. Just disappear. Turn off everything, block everything, and disappear, because watching these, and I mean young girls, like teenagers, they're getting hit on by these guys in their 20s and 30s. Women who are smart, and I mean book smart. They're like CEO of a president or CEO of a company, or I got my own business, and they are all being subjected to the same jerk men. What? How is this happening? I did not realize it was so organized, that it was so pervasive, that they are literally trying to break you down mentally for one reason. Well, more than one reason: power, control, sex. Because once you got power and control, you can get the sex, and that is what they want. They want to break women down to the point where, baby, they'll give it up because they really just don't know what else to do sometimes, or it saddens me. So that is why we talk about relationships so much. We're trying to get it right, and we're up against an enemy that has not only studied us, all right, knows all our weaknesses, and is working together with the other members, other men who look like us, in order to break. Say, you'll get in a room full of them, and they will all swear it's you, but it's not you, it's them. They are the ones lying to you. They are the ones making false promises to you. They are the ones who are organizing a system to break you down. And I don't mean all women. Just us. Because if you pay attention, you will see they don't treat all women like they treat us. Mm-mm. These are men that look like us that only treat us bad. Because when I sit and watch, even when they have them on podcasts, you can tell the difference between the way they treat women that look like us and the women that look like this. It's disgusting. So, we continue to work on this. We continue to voice our opinions because it is important that we not lose all the years, because that's what happens. Women lose years of their life trying to find, and I'm not talking a perfect relationship, a relationship with a man that isn't trying to break you down. I mean, that's a simple request. I want to be in a relationship with just a normal guy, not a wannabe pimp, not a wannabe player, not a wannabe abuser, because they're abusers. Oh my goodness. Abusers, mental abusers. They might not hit you, but baby, by the time they're done with you, it's like you've been beat up. So, yes, I think we should continue to talk. And there are women who have dropped out entirely, and I understand that. They're like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But I often think, take a break, get some mental work done, take care of yourself, and then find new places to date. And I was telling somebody this. I had no idea when I came out of college that men were different from Detroit. I thought all men were like Detroit men. And maybe there was just a bunch of losers. I didn't know. I never thought about it. I was a college girl who didn't have a clue how this worked. I'd had one boyfriend in college, and then I met my husband. And it was like, if I had had any sense at all that I could do better, that there were better men, that there were different types of men, it would have been a different story. A lot of women are losing years and years and years with these men because they are continuing to participate in a relationship that's completely one-sided. Oh, let's see. What do we got here? I'm going to do more affirmations. Happy Saturday, goddess. It said out here, people are so evil now. Oh, I agree with that. I think we need to focus on parenting more because children eventually become adults. What is the dating and mating behavior of those so-called black women? What is the dating and mating behavior? Oh, I have no idea what that question means. All right, so let's go on with the parenting. Okay, and let me give you, I watched the video this morning, and oh gosh. Ooh. And it was by a gentleman who's a counselor. And I've watched quite a few of his videos. And he talks about relationships. And in this particular one, it was a husband and wife. And the wife was saying, my husband is valuing his mother's opinion over mine. And the counselor had to tell him, okay, young man, if you're going to go into a relationship, into a marriage, your wife has got to come first. When you and I understand this because I'm a single mom that raised a son. And there came a point where my son no longer needed raising, okay? The best he needed was for me to be a friend, right? Because I'm done raising him. He's an adult. But also, I had to send him to other men to get advice because there's a lot of stuff I could not advise him on. Right now, my son is living with my brother. Perfect place for him because I trust my brother with everything. He is a smart guy. He's successful. He's a happy guy. And he has a lot of really great advice to give young men. And he's done that for my son before. And it just so happened that my son's roommate moved out and he didn't have a place to stay. And I was like, you come home if you need to. He's like, nah, I don't really want to do that. And I'm like, okay. So he's with my brother right now. And I think that's an excellent arrangement because there's a lot of advice that men have to give men that, women just cannot do. It's just not something we're capable of. So one of the things I always do is, I send him to his uncle. And one of my brothers has moved away and another one has passed away, but they have spent many years with my son helping him. And so it's important that, we as a parent, I can do parent things, I can do loving things, mom things, but he also needs to have a male perspective. And so I've always tried to make sure he has that. And I agree, we do have to parent as well as we can. But our boys need to have a moral compass. And when you have a moral compass, it's pretty hard to break. I can't say it's unbreakable, but it's pretty hard to break. All right. If you raise your sons with a moral compass, like my son has a moral compass. He is not going to put up with a lot of nonsense. If he sees a mess going up, baby, he'll jump up and jump in. He will. In fact, my brother's like, okay, we're going to talk about that, because he will, because he cannot stand to see people be abused. All right, now, he cannot stand to see anyone hurt, and that is his moral compass. But a lot of these men right now, oh baby, they want to hurt you. They want to make sure you are in absolute agony and that you stay that way, so that they can have access to your body, your assets, whatever it is that they want to use you for. So raising children is important, yes, but now that's a future issue. The current issue is, because we have women right now who are adults, who are looking to not be in the situation of a lot of women who are in abusive relationship with manipulators. So that is the issue that we're talking about now. I agree with the parenting issue, but the parenting issue is an issue that has to go on with mom and dad. That's a different conversation. And we can maybe talk about that in the future, because, having raised a son alone, and my son is on the autism scale, so it's a little bit different for us, because, baby, years and years of overcoming things has just been kind of how it's been. But what we're dealing with now is adult women looking for partnership with men who don't want to be in partnership. They want to be overlords. They want to be kings. They want to be in charge of everything, but have no experience at leading anything or anyone. So I'm thinking that right now, as we go through, women are working on, I never know how this is going to look. Looks like my head is huge. How does it do that? I guess that's the best I'm going to do. Continue to work on relationships. Continue to listen. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of, because, okay, that counselor I mentioned, if I can find his link, I'll add him in, because he's very interesting. I don't know if he's here on YouTube, because I think I saw him over on TikTok. But, great advice. Tony Gaskins is another one, because you have to have balance. There's men and women in this, and when you're looking out, this is for people who are already in relationships, or when you're kind of thinking, when you hear someone say something, okay, that's the issue that's going on here. So I like listening to those too. So I did that one video on the girls who went out, I think that was Sale Fest, and this guy, he was a red pill guy who came at them with all of this anger and bitterness and so much red pill rhetoric. It was like, this is like walking red pill. That's what it was. It was walking red pill. Why are you wearing those clothes? If you didn't want me to talk to you, you should have wore a bathrobe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? Why don't you respect me? Sir, we don't even want to talk to you. My grandmother is a better woman than you. What would possess a man to say that to women walking down the street? Your grandmother actually likes you. Women walking down the street don't know you, don't like you, and don't want to know you. But this is what's coming out of their mouths. There's one video of a girl, she's at a bus stop, minding her business. A guy walks up to her and says, "Oh, you're wearing these clothes. That's what black women do." Now, he looks like us, and he's approaching black women, telling them they're wearing inappropriate clothes. She was wearing what other young people wear. It probably got him excited and angry at the same time, so he's going to approach her and tell her she's dressed inappropriately. You're too sexual. You are not her daddy. Leave women alone. But that's what they're doing now. So it's scary out here. There's a lot going on. That's why we continue to search, looking for partners that are healthy, which is not always easy because there's a lot of broken men out here, broken to the point where they will break you too. All right, I usually try and keep these at 30. What am I at? Ooh, I'm over. I'm at 35. Does anybody have any questions? Thanks for your feedback on parenting versus relationships. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's crazy out here. Sharing videos on my Facebook of people to see, specifically women. Pretty Ori, thank you. All right, I may do another later on. I'm sitting in a parking lot in the rain, and cars are starting to circle, which is a little weird. What are you parking over there for? All right, I'm gonna get out of here, ladies. I'll talk with you soon. Love you all.